Hey, it's Patrick from JMP Cycles, and this is our 2-in-1 shootout for Milwaukee 8 powered baggers. And for this video, we've chosen 4 of our top-selling 2-in-1s to feature on this Road Glide special to help you make your decision when building your hot rod. Now, this Road Glide special isn't 100% stock, so the tone may sound just a little bit different on a stock motor, but I'm assuming if you're out there looking at 2-in-1s, you're probably looking at building a hot rod. So let's start with the S&S Sidewinder. Right off the bat, this is the only pipe out of all of our pipes we're testing today that is 50 state compliant, meaning like no matter what state you live in and what restrictions you have as far as CARB or EPA, this pipe will pass all of them. Now they do offer this pipe in a non-compliant version as well, race only if you will, and it's not only available for Milwaukee 8s, they do have it available for twin cams, and it's available in black and chrome. Pricing on this is gonna vary depending on if it's compliant or not, black or chrome. But basically you're looking at anywhere from $900 to $1,200. Most of them have that nice, really big billet tip on the end with the S&S logo engraved. Now, something I really like about this pipe is the fact that the headers are made out of stainless. They're covered up underneath our chrome shields here, but they're stainless and they're stepped, meaning when they come out of the head ports, they actually go for a ways and they step up to a bigger diameter before going back into the muffler. That's really, really good stuff, especially when it comes to performance. Also, if you want to run a wideband O2 sensor setup in here for your tuner, you can. Otherwise, they give you bushings to run the smaller stock sensors. Flows out of those stepped headers into a 4.5-inch muffler setup on the back. Thing looks massive on the back end. Also, it's worth noting, they give you a dB reducer with the pipe. If you would want to quiet this pipe down, you can with their included dB reducer. Good looking pipe. Those folks in Wisconsin know how to make power. Let's hear what it sounds like. Up next is the Reinhardt 2-in-1. Now it also uses stepped header technology, which is really good, and you can use either the wideband O2 sensors or the stock narrowbands. Now the primaries on this, before it gets to the collector, are a bit shorter than the S&S primaries, and it is breathing through a 4-inch muffler instead of a 4.5-inch muffler. They do use a louvered core baffle in there that has a little bit of a twist to it. This pipe is available in black or chrome with a couple of different end cap options. Depending on what flavor you get, it's gonna be anywhere from about $850 to $900. And if you do have an earlier model bike that's not a Milwaukee 8, this thing is available for you twin cam baggers out there as well. Let's take a listen. All right, next up we have our Cobra USA power flow system. A couple different things about this pipe compared to the other ones in our test here is one, you can use both wideband style O2 sensors or the stock ones, but they don't use a bushing. There's 2 different ports here to use whatever style O2 sensor you want. The other thing about this is not a stepped header system. They go about things a little bit differently. Short primaries to a 2.5-inch collector here that's very long. Most of the collectors have been real short. This one's real long. They don't step the primaries down, but they use a nice long collector. That collector breathes through a 4.5-inch muffler with a perf core baffle as opposed to a louvered core, and then it has an RPT coated tip, which is their El Diablo style tip. This is available in chrome and black, and it's gonna run you anywhere from $750 to $850, depending on whatever configuration you're into. Let's take a listen. certainly not least, we have the Vance Hines Pro Pipe. Now, as you can see, the primaries are really long, like the SNS primaries. They are stepped, similar to the SNS, and they have the optional bungs for either 18mm or the 12mm O2 sensors, whether you're wanting wideband or narrowband. Where this pipe tends to get kind of interesting is in the muffler area. It's got a long tapered muffler, tapers up to 4.5 inches. And the baffle is pretty interesting as well. It looks like a perf core baffle, but there are very big perforations, almost kind of mimicking a bit of a louver, and it's kind of short and it's got an insert piece. Now, if you don't like the sound of this, they offer a quiet baffle as well as like a race baffle. So you can quiet it down or you can make it even louder if you want to. And this pipe is also available in chrome or black. It's gonna cost you about $850 to $900 depending on which flavor you want. Let's see what this thing sounds like. There we have 4 really solid options when you're building your hot rod here. 4 great companies. A lot of people ask about horsepower numbers. It's gonna be different depending on the setup of your bike, but you can count on all 4 of these brands to make very good power. And we're on the subject of it, yes, you need a tune. If you're building something like this, if you have a hot rod or you have a stock motor, you're putting a freer flowing exhaust on and an intake, go ahead and get yourself something to tune those bikes with, whether it be a Thunder Max, an FP3, a Power Vision, you're gonna need it. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop us a comment and go work on those motorcycles.